Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with more Tearlaments. We are playing Tearlaments with Fiendsmith and also Millenium. So, after trying this card in Millennium Snake Eye, and I think this is the experience that pretty much everybody playing Master Duel is having right now, kind of makes you think like, what else is this engine good in? And the answer is, literally anything that plays Fiendsmith, as long as you have the main and extra deck room. And Tearlament, I think, definitely has that, both of those things. So, the idea, of course, behind playing the Millenium engine is that if you open Sengenjin, the Golem, or Wenju Temple, that'll put multiple bodies on your board without using your normal summon. From there, you can either simply pivot into the Moon of Closed Heaven to start doing Fiendsmith stuff. Opening, like, the Sengenjin also will give you enough bodies to go into the sequence as well, right? Not just, you know, Moon of Closed into Requiem into Lacrima. You'll have the extra body and then you can pivot, like I said, into sequence. Or you could also use your Sengenjin plus Snake Eye's Doom Dragon in order to make a rank 8. A lot of the time that's probably going to be number 90, but another thing I was thinking about for Tearlaments in particular is like, you could make Zombie Vampire as your rank 8, and that'll help you get even more mills, giving you multiple options for the Millennium package in this archetype. Which I think is really, really cool. Of course, also, the Snake Eye's Doom Dragon is a great card when you're going second. It's basically a free, like, big body beater that also just takes out one of your opponent's monsters. A lot of the time this will end up forcing disruption more than anything else, but either way, the fact that you can, like, it's wild that Fiendsmith is, as an engine, is used to bait out disruption before you do, like, you know, your deck's main plays, right? But now you can actually bait for your bait. You can bait with Millennium before you bait with Fiendsmith, and then you do your full engine, which is honestly insane. So, I'm going to be exploring Millennium Fiendsmith in a lot of decks moving forward. I think tomorrow will probably end up being White Forest, but yeah, I was very impressed with this build. And also, you know, we really didn't have to give up that much room as far as main or extra deck goes for Tearlament in particular. Because when it comes to the extra deck, Tearlament is super flexible. I mean, think about it. When it comes to in-archetype, there's literally only 3 extra deck monsters. Now, granted, of course, there's a lot of other stuff that you typically play, like Baron and Redoer and SP, but the only things that are the only thing that's really not in this extra deck that I would normally want to put in the Tearlament extra is Dragostapelia. And honestly, you could just cut number 90 for Dragostapelia. Number 90 just really does not come up that often. I put it in here because I wanted to try it out, but if you want more options of things to fuse into, again, yeah, you can definitely cut the number 90 here. It's very optional. And then, yeah, for main deck, we just literally went up to 42, which is not a big deal at all. Oh, yeah, we're also playing Unicorns as well. So if you wanted to really wanted to stay at 40, you could just get the Unicorns in Birth and then just add, like, I don't know, like another Grief or something. But I don't think being at 42 is a big deal at all. And I think having Unicorn in Birth is super worth it, not only to aid in the Fiendsmith engine, because, you know, even if you open, like, Lura Unicorn, that's actually still just full combo, because you can use the Unicorn to help make sequence to make Beatrice to dump your cards and start going into plays. But on top of that, Unicorn, of course, is excellent in this Fiendsmith meta, where you can pull out, like, any number of the Fiendsmith extra deck cards and kind of, you know, screw up their plans that way. So, overall, just no reason kind of not to play Unicorn in Birth, I think, in a deck like this. Otherwise, it's a pretty typical Tearlament deck. It's not like the adding of this new engine changes what we're trying to overall do. It's just letting us do even more and more. And that's really the epitome of what this current meta is all about. And a lot of people are not the biggest fans of that, and that's completely understandable. It is frustrating to feel like your hand traps are useless. That's a common sentiment I see, is that, hand traps are useless because every deck can just play through it anyway. It's not that they're useless, you just have to be extremely picky, right? Knowing when and how to use hand traps and negates on your end board is a skill. It's something I've said, like, pretty much since the start of the channel. And there are some formats where it doesn't really come up that much as a skill. because of the way the meta plays out, right? Think like Sword Soul format, you know? That was so easy. You just Valor imperm their Moye and then they can't do stuff, right? There's really no nuance to that. But when Millenium and Fiendsmith are in, you know, a deck like Tearlament, and you've got like Ash Blossom and Imperm, you have to be really picky about when you use those. And it really, really matters to have good timing, a lot more than it has in previous metas. So it's not that hand traps are worse, you just need to be better about how you use them, I think is the better way to look at it. Because really, and this is another thing that I've said before too, like, it's so easy to take the argument, you know, in return to what I said of like, oh, but it still doesn't matter a lot of the time. Like, a lot of the time they can still just play through it, especially if you only open one hand trap. And yes, that is true. But my philosophy has always been, focus on what you can change. Ignore what you can't. That's just the Serenity Prayer, right? Like, the non-religious version of it. Which is, grant me the wisdom to know what I can't control and the grace to accept that I can't control it. I can't control games where I only open one Imperm against a Millenium Fiendsmith deck, but I can control how well I use that in a game. Food for thought. Anyway, why don't we just go ahead and break this list down card by card, and then we'll start getting into this gameplay. We're on 1 Fabled Lure, 2 Max C, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Tearlaments Havdis, 1 Fairy Tale Snow, 2 Tearlaments Shiren, 3 Tearlaments Rhino Heart, 1 Keldo the Sacred Protector, 1 Mudora the Sword Oracle, 1 Golem that guards the Millenium Treasures, 2 Fiendsmith Engraver, 1 Destrudo the Lost Dragon's Vision, 1 Kashtira Fenrir, 2 Kashtira Unicorn, 1 Tearlaments Kashtira, 3 Sengenjin Wakes from a Millennium, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 1 Foolish Burial Goods, 1 Tearlament's Grief, 1 Fiendsmith's Tract, 1 Pressured Planet Ratesoff, 1 Wedju Temple, 3 Tearlament's Scream, 1 Kashtira Birth, 1 Tearlament's Heartbeat, 1 Tearlament's Meta Noise, 1 Shrivakarma, 1 Tearlament's Crime, and finally 1 Tearlament's Soliac. And that'll do it for our main deck. For the extra, we're on 1 Tearlament's Kickklos, 1 Fiendsmith's Lacrima, 1 Tearlament's Rolkalos, 1 Snake Eyes Doomed Dragon, 1 Tearlament's Collide Heart, I almost call it a Kashtira card, 1 Fiendsmith's Desiree, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Time Thief Redoer, 1 Beatrice Lady of the Eternal, 1 number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, again, this should probably just be Dragos Stapelia, 1 Zombie Vampire, 1 Fiendsmith's Requiem, 1 SP Little Knight, 1 Moon of the Closed Heaven, and finally 1 Fiendsmith's Sequence. That'll do it for our list. Let's check out these duels. Okay, for our first game, let's have a going second game against Branded. This is a dual scope game, but I remember this game. I remember this duel very well. I think it's a good one to start off with. Yeah, so we're losing the coin flip, and no hand traps in our opening hand. I mean, the only hand traps in our deck are 2 Max C, 3 Ash Blossom. And it's something I mentioned in yesterday's viewer special video, but when I'm going second with Tearlament, I always get really anxious, because I feel like I instantly regret not playing more hand traps. But the thing about Tearlament, especially with these extra engines added, is that it's so much easier for us to push through our opponent's board that you really don't need a lot of hand traps a lot of the time. And again, that was true of Tearlament even before Fiendsmith and Millenium came out, right? Would typically play not as many hand traps, but extra true now that we have these other engines here. Our opponent's doing some pretty typical Branded stuff, just setting up the Mirror Jade, Lost, going for a Grass here. Kind of wasn't expecting that. I'm a little surprised they didn't do that sooner while they had more cards in deck, but they didn't really mill too much that's too useful here. This is like why you don't always see Grass in Branded. You do actually some of the time, but I don't know. Grass sometimes in Branded just doesn't feel like it does enough, or anything really. Like, I mean, to be fair, they did mill a couple of spell trap cards here, like the High Spirits and the Brightest Blazing Branded King. They get to add back. Alright. Oh, and then Cartesia as well. Sure, I mean, yeah, I guess they did get to pretty much draw 3 off that Grass. That wasn't terrible. Okay, I'll admit that. Setting Branded Banishment with the Albion before passing back over to me, so drawing for turn, getting the Mudora here. We're going to wake with Sengenjin Wakes from a Millennium, or start with Sengenjin Wakes from a Millennium. I like starting with the Millennium engine first, even if I have, like, if I had Rhino Heart, Engraver, and Sengenjin all in my opening hand, I think I would still start with the Sengenjin. Alright, so Wedju Temple, I'm going to place the Mudora in my hand. so that way I can get it in the graveyard and then go for the Snake Eyes Doomed Dragon. Definitely want to push this Mirror Jade into the back row. This will not only force the Mirror Jade to use its effect, but now I don't have to deal with the board wipe effect. Golden Sword still activating here. So that was a total goof up on my part. This Mudora. Ideally, I should have activated Mudora in the same chain link where I was pushing back Mirror Jade. I just totally blanked that Golden Sword Soul's graveyard effect, like, did this. So, yeah, ideally I would have shuffled that back before I had a chance to activate, because now they get to special summon the Cartesia that's in their hand. I'm going to chain Mudora anyway to put back the Quem, so they don't get to bring that back, as well as putting back their branded, what did I put back? It was the opening, right? Yeah, the branded opening, I put that back so that way they didn't get the graveyard effect. And then I also put back the Titanic Cloud that they just dumped off Mirror Jade so they don't get that graveyard effect either. So we still made use out of our Mudora, but that could have been played better. They're going to go for Granganol and Branded Lost here. Branded Lost to add Mercurier. And then Granganol is going to dump Titanic Cloud again. So, but, like, look at how much we were able to force just with the Millenium engine, right? Now, granted, we still have a couple of things to play through. The Banishment, which is still face down, and that Mercurier they added, but we haven't even, like, now we're only just now going, like, alright, Tracked for Lurie. So good. Normally, you would just go Golem plus, yeah, Sengyujin into Moon of Close Heaven, but again, here we have the Tracked for Lurie, so no need to waste the bodies, and we can just pivot into Fiendsmith so easily. Here's Engraver. They're going for the Granganol effect into Proskinian. Proskinian to banish my Requiem so I can't use the Send effect. Which is fine with me. That forces another interaction from our opponent. Going into Sequence. We're going to activate Sequence here. Or actually, no, they're going to Branded Banishment before I get a chance to. But I don't think they have another Mirror Jade because they go Branded Banishment and then they don't actually Fusion Summon anything. Which means they must not have a target. Although, to be fair, Mirror Jade requires Albaz anyway, so they wouldn't be able to use Albion plus Sequence to go into that. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, is it because this is light and they can't go into, like, Dragostapelia or something? I don't know. Anyway. So here, rather than going for the Sequence... Oh, no, yeah, rather than going for the Sequence F, I'm going to go for Engraver and then use Tracked to fuse. Because if I did it with Sequence F, I wouldn't have anything to bring back with the Lacrima. So by doing it this way, I can still Lacrima bring back the Engraver. And this will force my opponent to use Mercurier. Okay, so that's all of the disruption from our opponent that we know about. Now we can go Rhoda for Rhinoheart. Still have not normal summoned, by the way, so normal summon Rhinoheart. Rhinoheart, no Havness F, we're going to fuse into the Kaleidoheart. And by the way, or not Kaleidoheart, Kikalos. And by the way, if my opponent had, not that Branded plays this, but let's say my opponent still had like a Veiler in hand for the Rhinoheart, we still had Foolish Burial to dump the Fuser anyway. We could play through even more disruption with this setup here. Alright, so we're going to keep Millen off Kikalos and Tier Cash. Hitting a Rhinoheart. As well as a Keldo there. Gonna pitch the Soliac for the Rhinoheart in order to bring it back. Soliac can add the Shiren here. Shiren F, I'm gonna pitch the Destrudo to special her. And then mill 3. Now we can overlay Shiren plus Rhinoheart into the Time Fee free to her. Putting that in the EMZ to give myself some more room here. I'm gonna Foolish Fairy Tail Snow here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna summon Fairy Tail Snow. And then after I summon Fairy Tail Snow, no need to use her effect here either. Then I'm going to go for Destrudo. Then I can target the level 4 Snow, make the Destrudo level 3, sync with the level 7 Tier Cash, or to make the Baron de Fleur. Just wanted to add this Omni Negate to my end board just in case I needed it. Or not my end board, but just to my board in general. Then we're going to go Redoer F, which lets us activate Shiren. And then now we can go for Kaleidoheart. Baron also lets us pop one of our opponent's cards to get it out of the way. We can put one back with Kaleidoheart. They can try to go for Aliber effect, but I don't even need to use the Baron Omni Negate here, because I have the Keldo that we milled earlier, so I'm just going to Keldo put back the Aliber. I didn't put back anything besides Aliber, because I was at like 40 seconds left at this point in my turn, but that's still plenty of time to, yeah, move to battle phase and just finish our opponent off. And there we go. I think that this game perfectly captures how good Millennium and Fiendsmith are in a deck like this. Like, holy, we pushed through everything our opponent had. Everything. Before we even normal summoned Rhinoheart. That is insane. The other thing that's really cool about playing Millenium and Fiendsmith in Tearlament as well is that you can trick your opponent into kind of thinking that negating the Fiendsmith stuff in particular is a lot more important than it actually is. Like, I mean, yeah, we'd still like to go sequence F to be able to make Beatrice and dump something, but it's often not as important for us, a Tearlament deck, to be able to do that as it is for, like, a Snake Eye deck to be able to do that. Snake Eye, because they're, like, Ash and Poplar and stuff are all limited, sometimes with a lot of hands will kind of live and die by that Beatrice resolving, but Tearlament has a lot more opportunities to have some additional plays in hand. But, yeah, there is our first game. Let's go into the next one here. Okay, our next opponent's going to be on Tenpai. We lost the coin flip, but our opponent still let us go first. So, I mean, there are a number of going second decks. It could be Ancient Gear, it could be Mikonko, but it's probably Tenpai. But that is definitely fine with me when we got a hand like this. Gonna go for a Scream, and they're gonna fire off the Maxi. Womp womp. But Tearlament can actually play very well through Maxi and Fuelos. Basically, the idea is that we're just going to go for Kiklos and use Kiklos to add a trap card and then stop there, giving them only one draw and still setting up a decent amount of interaction. Milling the Scream off Scream is very nice here. They're going to go for a Fuelos. That's fine with me. It's not really going to give them any more cards because I'm only going to summon one time and then that'll be it. But the Scream means that I can grab two trap cards here. One off Scream, one off the Kiklos. So I'll be able to set up Soliac and Crime. I kind of considered using Foolish to dump like an Ishizu card or Fairy Tale Snow, but I decided not to. Oh, okay, so as soon as I saw the Raigeki, I thought two things. I thought, one, okay, so it is just Tenpai. And then I thought, two, no, what are you doing? You should not Raigeki a Tearlament board. You will only improve it. Literally, you will only improve it. I'll show you here. Because Raigeki destroyed both of our monsters, we can go both Rhinoheart and Kiklos F. Rhinoheart F to summon itself, dumping Havnus. Kiklos F to mill 5. Havnus F and Meta Noise both get to activate here. Meta Noise is going to add the Tear Cash back to my hand. And we can still use Rhinoheart. And we can mill more with Tear Cash, and we can mill with Scream as well. Just casually Chain Link 5 in response to my opponent Raigeking me, you know, whatever. Without actually having to activate any of my back rows. Even dump the extra Shiren there. Adding back Tear Cash will give us a monster to use with Crime. Now I can fuse the Kiklos with the Havnus in order to make the Rolkalos. And then now Shiren activates. And I can fusion summon that Kiklos that I just put back. And I only use Kiklos' second effect, meaning I still get the first effect, search for a follow-up Rhinoheart. Okay, so literally, if you're playing board breakers, don't ever Raigeki a Tearlament board. As you can see, I'm not exaggerating at all when I say that my opponent Raigeking my board just made it better. Alright, here they're going to go for Lightning Storm and try to target the back row. This time I'm going to use Tearlament's Crime to negate that, saving my other two face downs, the Heartbeat and the Soliac. Heartbeat could actually very easily be useful against like the field spell here or something. Okay, so here they're going to go for Fadra, normal Fadra, special Chandra. They activate Droplet, pitch their last Ogre. I'm going to chain Soliac here and use the effect on Fadra. This does a couple of things. So as you can see, it lets me get my Rolkalos off the board, meaning Droplet can no longer negate it, meaning that the Chandra will be negated and also destroyed. And also, because Fadra has been negated by the Soliac, now it cannot bring back that Chandra that just got sent when it battles. Yeah, they have to use Droplet on the Kiklos here. Oh, and then also, we can just bring back the Rolkalos anyway, and we get to search off of Soliac too. Insane. Absolutely insane. And yeah, our opponent's definitely going to concede there because there's not really anything else they can do at that point. Good stuff. All right. Got one last duel to show off. Let's finish with that one. Alright, our final opponent is also going to be on a going second deck. Once again, I lost the coin flip, but they let me go first. Yep, so let's see what we've got here. I see Cashiers, I see Fiendsmith, I see Rhinoheart. This looks pretty good to me. We're gonna go for Pressure Planet Ratesoft to add Unicorn. That was a misplay. I should have added Fenrir. Well, no, because I already had Birth in hand, yeah. Yeah, I should have added Fenrir and then Fenrir add Tier Cash. That was a misplay on my part. But after summoning Unicorn, I'm gonna go for the Engraver, which will let us go, of course, track Lurie, Lurie for Requiem, Requiem for Engraver. Yeah, that was definitely just me being on autopilot with the field spell and adding the Unicorn. Yeah, I should have acknowledged the Birth in my hand and gone for Fenrir instead. But, as usual, we're just making plays before we actually go into our tier limit stuff. So here, because my opponent's not really doing anything, and because I already have the Rhinoheart in hand, I don't really need Beatrice, I'm actually going to go for Desiree. And then I can bring back the Unicorn off Birth, link it with Sequence into Little Knight, and then use Sequence F from the graveyard. My thought process here is that I'd rather have Little Knight on my inboard, I think, than Unicorn. I think it's overall better. So Rhinoheart's going to get normal summoned here, mill the Havnus, then we can fuse for the Kitkalos. Kitkalos F, we're going to dump the Tier Cash, and then Tier Cash F gets the mill too. Scream, we're going to use that in order to add Solic. That was a weird animation. Did you see that just now? Anyway. Tier Cash summons itself. We're going to mill 8, feel great. And let's see what we hit here. We got Mudora and nothing. Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate. And this is the drawback of playing tier limit, is sometimes you just don't mill anything useful. You kind of have to awkwardly end on a board like this. I mean, granted, we have Little Knight, we have Desiree, we have Solic sacking the Tier Cash to mill a couple more. Birth is also live right now, by the way, with the Tier Cash up too. So, like, I would have liked to have milled at the very least, like, Fairy Tale Snow or something. Then I could have gone Destrudo to target it and then gone into a Baron here as well. But it happens sometimes. Alright, so our opponent is going to immediately start with the Lava Golem, which is not great for us, 1. 2, this made me think that it was Makonko. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use Desiree's effect to actually get rid of this Lava Golem on my field. But then they go for the Walls of the Imperial Tomb. This is actually just a Horus deck. That's why they let me go first, is because their game plan is to win by simply beating me down with the Horus monsters. As you can see, the card they discarded there is spell card Soul Exchange, which would let them tribute summon one of the Horus monsters using my cards to do so. So here we can use Birth to banish the first Imseti, right? Then when they dump the second one off Kingstark, I'm going to use Mudora to put it back, as well as a couple of more cards I want to get back. So we've denied them 2 Horus bodies, but they can still go Kingstark for Imseti here. And then they have Horus the Black Flame Deity as the last card in hand. They're going to try to send a card on my field to the graveyard. I decided to use Solic here, because I figured they were probably going to send a Tier Cash anyway, and then at least at this rate I could negate their effect, if nothing else, and force them to send something else, but I wanted them to send my Soul. I didn't think they were going to do it. I was a little surprised they sent Ratesoft, but that's fine with me. We did manage to mill a Fuser here, but all we can really go for is Rolkalos. Can't make Kaleidoheart because we don't have a Rhinoheart in our graveyard, so... And yeah, Rolkalos can just get battled over, in this case, by the Dumatef. But we're not out of it yet. They're going to smack us for more damage before overlaying into... This can be Zombie Vamp or number 90? It's probably number 90, right? It's number 38, actually. Which makes sense. They would have room in the Well, they're actually not playing that many extract cards at all, are they? It would make sense, I guess, that they have more room in the extract for options. Like, normally, you probably play 90 over 38, but here, yeah, you have room for 90 and 38. And 38, of course, can stop my Kashtira Birth. And the thing is, like, I guess to be fair, I could have maybe used Heartbeat against the Kingstark, but I just don't have any bodies at that point, so yeah, I just die anyway. Unfortunate, but it happens. But yeah, that is going to go ahead and do it for this one. Thanks for checking out these games. Hope you enjoyed them or found this helpful. And thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. It is definitely one of the best ways to support the channel. Second only, I think, to the YouTube members and patrons. So thank you very much for your support. But that'll do it for now. Let's move on to that outro now. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.